Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Bootcast. I'm your host, Eugene Devereaux from irishbootstrapper.com, and today joining me from Italy is Barbara Fraile. Is that right?
Well, yeah, for English-speaking people, it's okay. In Spanish, I would say fraile, but it's all right.
So tell us a bit about yourself, who you are, where you're from, what you're doing with yourself now.
Hard question. Where I'm from? I am originally from Buenos Aires, Argentina. I currently live in Italy, in the countryside, surrounded by beautiful landscape. When the weather is clear, I can see amazing mountains everywhere and vineyards, everything.
Nice.
Yeah, it's beautiful here.
It's brilliant. What's your main profession then, I suppose?
Yeah, well, at the moment, I'm an artist. I work with clay and I make sculptures of dog in ceramic.
Cool.
Yeah, that's a profession I made up a couple of years ago. Yeah, it's keeping me ongoing for a while.
Nice.
Although looking for change, but yeah, it's good.
That's brilliant. Is that some of your wares in the background? I see some.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Nice. So for anybody listening, Barbara has lots of her art and sculptures in the background. So I'm just looking at them now. They're really cool, little dogs and stuff. That's brilliant. Nice. Cool.
Yeah. Okay. This
Cool.
Yeah. Now I have the table is so crowded. It's a mess. I actually had to make place to put the computer and the phone and everything because I have things going on everywhere around the house. And when I'm working, it's like I am expansive, so I take all over everywhere.
And so your house is like a gallery now, then, or a sculptor's studio.
Yeah, it's an artist house. It's kind of I'm a messy artist. Like when I'm in the flow, I don't care how it looks like. Important thing is that I feel comfortable. That's very important for me. If I pay attention to how it looks and if it's tidy and neat, then I'm not in the flow and I'm not working. So
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice. It's an interesting profession. So just coming back to travel then, and we'll go more into your business later on. So what was the first country you ever traveled to?
First country, okay. We'll go with the first country overseas because I traveled. Okay, in Argentina, I traveled quite a lot, like all my life, and been to these neighbor countries as a child, like Uruguay and Brazil and Paraguay. But like that was not very exciting from the point of view of a traveler. But my first overseas trip was to Czech Republic, and I did it alone. And I was actually doing that kind of trip. I have longed for that for forever. Like when I was a kid, I remember I knew I was going to just go out and travel all the time. So Czech Republic it was, and I was 20. I was in 2007.
Okay,
quite
cool.
a while ago.
And did you go to Prague or other parts of Czech Republic? Or
I landed in Prague, and I was actually going there because of, well, let's call it work. And so I landed in Prague. I stayed a couple of days in Prague, and then took a little trip around. I say we because I met people there. They were locals, so they were showing me from east to west and so on by train mainly. And then we did a little trip on the car going to Slovakia. And I just fell in love, like Slovakia in winter time. And it was like a fairy tale. Like I have never seen anything like that. Just like, in a movie, like kind of these fairy tale movies when you are just in the landscape. It was snowy and the houses were colorful and so cute, and the little towns in the middle of the mountains. It was just magical. Like I loved it.
Cool. How many countries have you been to so far, or is that something you count?
Ooh, I don't really keep count, but the last time I counted because someone has asked me, it was somewhere between 25 and 30, but I maybe around, yeah, something like that it was, but I don't really
Cool.
know.
And what's your favorite country in the world?
This is really difficult to say. I like countries for very different reasons. I would say I have my heart in Denmark, and there is no logical explanation. Kind of, Denmark is such a simple country. There's nothing extremely fascinating about it, but I just fell in love with it that much that I moved in. I moved to Denmark and I lived there for 3 years, and I still love it, even though I left it. But I like Denmark very much, and then I like Scotland very much.
Scotland.
Yeah, Scotland is like, I don't know, this mystic kind of country. I don't know. I want to go to Ireland, by the way, but I never really had the time yet. And people keep saying, "Oh, you have to go. It's amazing." Yeah. I will go.
Yeah. Come over.
Yeah.
So, have you had any bad experiences traveling? Worst travel experiences, or?
Well, not really. Like, I had experiences, like, they weren't really the greatest ones, but there's something that I like adventure. So when something bad happens, it's like, for me, there's some adventure coming on. So let's say, get some problem, I don't know, I had some issues like flight, strange delays, then arriving 24 hours later than I should, and something like that. Most people would get just so, they would hate it, and they would be, maybe their entire trip would be spoiled because of that delay. I just try to make everything an adventure, and so I mean, it could be seen as a bad experience, but I just managed to turn it around, and I don't know, I just can make good memories out of it, even though I didn't like it or I didn't choose it. But I think the worst two I could say was in airports, but again, I turned them into adventures, so it was fun in the end.
Cool. It's a good way to approach life, I suppose, and travel, that you have to be open to change and uncertainty.
Traveling.
Yeah. Asia. So you've been to parts of Asia?
I've been there, yes. I spent around 2.5 months traveling with a little tiny backpack, and I did it with flip-flops and my little backpack, which at some point I didn't even carry much clothes because I was collecting books along the way. And if I wanted to take flights, I had a limit of how much I could carry. So I could only take 8 kilos, and I think I had 6 kilos of books, and the rest were t-shirts and shorts. And whenever I needed new clothes, I was just giving them for charity, and then buying something, like very cheap, and then just going around like that. That was my trip to Asia.
Cool. Nice. Travel light. Indonesia. Do you want to talk about Indonesia?
Yeah, sure. I mean, Indonesia was like, if it was a bad experience, but again, it was like where of all the countries I visited, was where I felt the most uncomfortable at some point. When you say Indonesia, it's like Bali. Yeah, sure. I went to Bali, but I also wanted to see, when I travel, I don't just go to where tourists go. I like to see the places I go to. So I went to other 2 cities, and I got involved a little bit with how life goes around there. And it was like the most cultural shock I ever had. and the first time in my life I had been homesick. I mean, that's not normal. I didn't know what happened. And there were 2 earthquakes, like they were very mild, but it was like the first time I felt anything like that. It was maybe one night I was living, it was like 4 a.m, and everything shook. I thought I was dreaming, and I woke up, and I didn't know what happened. The bed was really shaking, and the roof was shaking, and everything was shaking. And I hear, like, morning, they were praying, because they are Islamic there, and they pray with this chant, and they were praying. So I wake up with this shaking and a prayer in the back, and then some chickens or wherever, because it was like the sunset coming, and they were, and it was such a bizarre experience. I was like, oh my freaking God, what am I doing here? Where am I? I mean, I thought I was really dreaming. It wasn't a nightmare. So I had this situation, and then another little earthquake, and I was just starting to be very unstable. And then I started to miss, like, I wanted to eat something. I needed something familiar. Everything was just so different to everything. Because even if you stay in Bali, it's like made for tourists, and also it's another culture, and they are Hindu there. So it's like, it's different. But there I felt really, really, really far away from everything I knew. And I needed to, get something comfortable. So I ended up like looking for food, like, something really to comfort myself. And so I ended up finding a pizzeria somewhere. Like,
jeez.
That was Indonesia. And it was an interesting experience. Like,
nice. And how long ago was that?
In Indonesia, I stayed for a month.
Yeah, but in the last couple of years, or?
Oh, that was in 2015.
Oh, okay, yeah. So 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Just from your Instagram and Facebook and stuff, I see that, like, you call yourself a nomad. So this is kind of a term that's kind of emanated in the last maybe decade of people working online and stuff. But what does it mean to you? What is a nomad?
I mean, I don't relate to the actual meaning of the word nomad. These people living off a laptop and so on. For me, nomad is like, I have been like that my entire life. It's like, like the origin of the word is like people who didn't really have a place where they belong. They were, I don't know, hunting or fishing or living off whatever nature provided. So they were moving when the season was over, then they would go and find another place and make it their home. And then, just chasing life and making opportunities happen for them with whatever nature was providing at the time. Yeah. So for me, that I go with the original meaning of nomadic. Like, I don't really have a place to go back, and there is no place in this world which is waiting for me and I call home, because I don't have such a place. And with my family, we already moved so many times. Like, I really don't have a place to call home. So I'm just moving whenever I feel like the fishing or hunting in whichever place I am is over. Then I go to hunt and fish in some other place.
That's good. I like that. I like it. So is your family kind of with you still, or?
No, they live in Argentina. They moved, of course. And they live in the mountains in the province of Córdoba, in the center of Argentina.
Okay. So I know I've met 1 or 2 people from Argentina in the past year or so, but are things good there at the moment, or?
Oh, no, Argentina is terrible. Like, go as a tourist, enjoy it. It's a beautiful country. Like, if you're a traveler, there's so much nature to see, and it's beautiful. But the situation in Argentina as a local, it can be quite tricky. So yeah.
Okay. Okay, so would you consider yourself like a risk taker?
Yeah, I know I take risks because people have told me I do risky stuff. And then obviously I do. Like, I don't walk. I don't make decisions pondering the safety of the situation. I don't put myself into the situation, like life-threatening situations, but only once. But other than that, it's like no, I'm just like, yeah, let's do it. If I feel it's the right thing, yeah, why not?
What was the once?
It's a very silly story. I mean, it's not even that brave. I was in I was in Edinburgh, and I don't know how I ended up in front of a rock. Let's call it a rock. It's not even a mountain. I think it's like this park is called Holyrood, whatever is the name. And I ended up in the back of that place. And I had no idea, really. But I saw a rock, like a mountain, a hill. It's actually a hill. And I said,
yeah.
how do I get up there? And I couldn't see a street, and then I decided to climb. And that was not made for climbing. So at some point I was like, I don't know, 100-meter high, and I look back and I say, oh shit. And I didn't know how to keep climbing, and it was impossible to go down. And there was nobody down there, so I couldn't even say call the emergency. So I had to really keep climbing. I had my backpack and my tripod and my camera and everything hanging around, and I was climbing there. And I said, that was a really nice life experience. Like, I could have died if I fall from this fall and in such a silly way. But it was like, this is my life, actually. When I start going, I really burn every bridge. Like, here I had no way to return because I couldn't. So I just had to keep climbing.
Yeah.
So I made it. I made it. It was
Good.
okay, but it would have been better if it was in a real mountain or in a real experience, like.
And I'm trying to picture, because I was in Edinburgh twice, but is it the kind of rock where the castle is?
Yeah, but it's, this place, because I was staying in an Airbnb somewhere in the coast, and the lady from there was driving to a church, and then she dropped me and said, you can walk around and then take the bus to get to wherever this castle is. But I never take buses. I say, no, I can walk. So I was in the back of this park, so it was like, I don't really know, but it's not place tourists go, because it was not on the path. I just wanted to get where the tourists were, because then I went up and then I had to keep climbing, but the other part of the climbing was okay because there were people there.
Yeah.
But people was going by car up there, not by truck.
Okay.
So I don't really know. I should look in the map and maybe I can find it out. It was many years ago.
Yeah. There's a place there called Arthur's Seat.
Yeah.
Could be around there. But that's an interesting story. So you were determined to keep going and get to the top, and you got there in the end. You had no option. You had to go for it. You decided you were going to climb it, and you had to go for it.
Yeah.
Brilliant. That's good. I like that. And just on that then. So like some people are afraid to travel, maybe because they like fear the unknown, or they're worried about, maybe different laws or different cultures or different foods and uncertainty, languages, stuff like this. What would you say to that?
Oh, I say that is the exact reason why I travel.
Yeah.
Because there is things I don't know, and uncertainty and new things and different people, and that's what triggers me to go around,
Yeah. Same.
I cannot understand. Only once I took one of these, charter tours. I had a cousin with me, and I was trying to take her, like, let's go backpacking, and she was like, no. And so we took these kind of buses where, all the tourists go, and we went around Europe in this thing, and I feel like this is the most horrible experience for travel I have ever had. In the meaning, like, it's so boring, They leave you there, go there 30 minutes, take 5 pictures, go back on the bus, and I take you there, and it's like, and then it was like, what's the fun, what's the excitement of traveling this way? You don't really, I mean, yeah, you see things, but you don't expose yourself to you become another person when you travel and encounter different things, and you have to sort things on your own, and you have to try to find out what language are they talking here, and then you learn to communicate, and you learn to find out places. And okay, before now everybody has the Google Maps, so it's not so easy to get lost, but when I started traveling, I didn't even have internet on my phone. There were not even phones with internet, like so I had to look on a map on a paper, and it's exciting, it's like and fascinating for me.
Cool.
So yeah.
What's the biggest physical challenge you've ever taken?
Physical challenge, well, I guess that was when I lived in Denmark. When I just moved there, and I was staying with friends, and I got, let's call it a job in a ceramic studio, and I was 15 kilometers away. And I decided that I wanted to do this by bike every day. And so in the end, it was 30 kilometers a day to go to work, and it was winter. And winter in Denmark is long and wet and dark, and it's not like the nicest experience if you are not used to that. Like, most people don't like that kind of conditions. I like it. It was very challenging, and I was biking every day for 4 months. And not only because it was not just biking, I was then working all day, like from 10 to 5. So it was like physically challenging, because I was really all the biking and then working, and the work was quite physical too, because I was sculpting and working with hard material. So it was not just sitting in front of the screen and taking it easy. So yeah, and I was doing this biking in the dark, in the rain, in the snow, in every possible condition, in the wind. Denmark can be very windy too. But it was more than physical, I guess. It was physical in the very beginning, and then it ended up being mental, because once the body got adapted to it, it was like the mental part of the challenge that you had to support.
And so that kind of brings us on to the next question. So what would be your biggest mental challenge ever?
Oh, well, mental challenge, it was dealing with personal experience, like real life personal experience, which had to do with my sister loss. And it wasn't sudden, it was a life story. So it was challenging my mind in many ways, but it kind of, I don't know, I think made me who I am, and perhaps made me want to challenge me and experience as much as possible, because it was very, very challenging just to pass through that.
Okay, sorry to hear that.
Yeah. It's okay, it's part of who I am. Yeah.
So how do you stay motivated in life and in business then, when you are having tough times like that? Do you think maybe that has really strengthened you to get through other things in life?
Yeah. I mean, what I have learned to stay on is you have to have a reason. You have to have something that you are going after. And it has to be something that you put yourself there, not that you're running after something society is telling you to go for, like the standard life. If you like that, it's totally okay, but that's, for me, it's not motivating enough to do what you have to do. You know what I mean? It's like finding things, little things. Sometimes are little things, sometimes are big things, sometimes it's a combination of everything, but there has to be something that you are going after. And then understanding that if you achieve that something, you have to immediately put something to replace it, because then the problem, and in this I have suffered because of that, and then I was trying to learn what happened, and I see this is a common problem or mistake a lot of people do when they achieve things, and then say, is that it? And in the end, because in the end it's not what you get, is the journey to getting it. And it sounds cliche to say it's the journey, but it's true. You get there. I have accomplished so many things, and I got to a point where it was like, I have no more things to achieve. It's like everything I wanted I actually got, so what now? And I was literally depressed, and at that point I discovered, no, you just have to keep putting stuff. And then understood, like, what does that mean? Is the journey really, I always make it as enjoyable as possible, but you still need to have that thing that you are going after.
Yeah, it's interesting because my tagline, my motto is become the journey. So that's exactly why, because so many people are chasing this. Maybe it's a material thing, or maybe it's a goal in business or life, and when they get there, it's a big letdown, because what then?
Yeah.
Interesting. So do you have any like favorite outdoor activities?
I love hiking, walking, anything. Just I love it. Yeah, could walk all day.
Have you ever done the Camino de Santiago?
I want to sometime. It's like in the list, but I'm more interested in doing some on my own walking. Like, I have this kind of fantasy I will do someday, like just take a backpack and start walking without knowing where and what for, just for the sake of walking, and then maybe just making up the path because I see the sun is shiny in that side and I want to see the sun, and so I just take that road and then I walk and then I stop, and then the next day I just make it up again, and just do it for a couple of months until I get tired, for no reason, but for the sole purpose of walking. And that is like something I really want to do someday.
Yeah, so before you mentioned to me about a train trip in Norway.
All right.
So tell us about that.
Oh, that was I had to go to the north of Norway, to Bodo. It was for work, so I could have actually take the flight, because it was possible to take one or two flights, I don't remember, but I decided to go to Trondheim, and then from there I take the train, which is like 12 hours. And I decided to do so because I love traveling. Honestly, I love the journey in all possible aspects. It's like a flight of 2 hours is not long enough for me. So I said, okay, let's take the train for 12 hours. But I also, I was going to the north of Norway, and it was winter time. And I said, okay, there is a northern light, but I'm not going to see them. I'm going for work. So maybe I don't have the chance to go and, look for them or whatever. So I wanted to make sure I give myself all the possibilities to see them. And I said, okay, if I take the train by night, maybe I have one chance, and I will do it. So I took the train because I wanted to make sure I got to see the northern lights once I was there. And lucky enough, on the way back, I was for 1 hour in the trip, and then there they were. And that was the most fascinating thing I have ever seen. I mean, it was like, I couldn't believe my eyes. I was just looking for the window, and at some point I was like, I'm about to fall to sleep. And then there they were. And it was so beautiful, and it was worth, taking this 12-hour train trip, which was mostly boring because you couldn't see much in the dark other than but it was really worth it.
So Barbara, you also mentioned to me before you were on a silent retreat in Thailand. So
that was something Yeah, I'm very curious. So I was like, I was always curious about this kind of things,
Yeah.
retreats and that. I was, I did. Okay, I was doing yoga for a while, like for some years, and I felt really good, like got into this kind of philosophy. I'm not a Buddhist or I'm not anything actually, but I really get interested in their philosophy. I like to understand. And I've always said I would like to go into a monastery and do this kind of retreat, something, try to understand it firsthand, not from someone in, just go there where they are.
Yeah.
But I didn't plan it. Like I went to Thailand with one of my cousins, and we were there. And our first night in Bangkok was terrible because my cousin didn't like it, and there were rats in the hotel, and she was hysterical. She wanted to go away, and then we had a terrible first night. And it was during this first night that I was like, oh my God, I have to travel with my cousin now for the rest of, I don't know, forever. And we are going to kill each other. And then I have an idea, like, what if I go to these retreats? Like, I didn't even look up for any of them because I know my cousin would never go there. But I got this crazy idea, and then I was like, but I cannot abandon my cousin. I mean, it would be very bad of me coming, the two of us, and then I was just like, okay, I'm going to go there.
See,
that was really no good. And then she was like, she wanted to go to these, the typical party islands in Thailand and all of that stuff. And I'm just so not for that kind of stuff. I mean, I could go and taste it once and that's it, but I cannot do that like for a month. And so, but I was so lucky because she got an email that night that one of her friends would come over to Thailand and at a certain date. And I was researching about these retreats, and it started on the same day that the friend would arrive. So I said, okay, you know what? You go with your friend to the beach party. I will go to the retreat. And so I took off to go to this retreat. And I stayed there with the monks for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And it was fascinating. I don't know how many people started, but I think it was less than the half at the end of the retreat, because people were just quitting on the middle. I mean, it was really tough. You cannot speak. You wake up at 4 a.m. for meditation, and then you go to sleep at night, where they just cut off the electricity, so you have to sleep or sleep.
Yeah.
You don't have, I mean, you have to leave all your possessions, including passport, in the entrance, so you cannot just hide away and run. And it wasn't easy. I mean, it was the first time I did such a thing. I didn't know what to expect. And funny or interesting thing at the end is the last day, everybody was sharing about their experiences, and it was amazing how many people experienced the same things on these same dates. Like, on date 4, people were thinking some kind of thoughts, and as the time was going, the mind, I've learned a lot about the mind and how it works. And it was really, I mean, I didn't know what I would have this kind of discovery there. But it was really, really interesting. And I still have lessons from there. And sometimes when I feel like, I'm too much in my mind, I go back to there, and I know this is the illusion. So again, going back to this Buddhist philosophy and all these things, they are talking about the mind, which is always interesting. But until you really try it and understand it for yourself, you cannot really, I mean, words make no sense in this case. So it was a really great life lesson. And that I'm still learning. So many years later, I still learning from that. Cool. So it was amazing.
I'm going to try that the next time. Whereabouts in Thailand did you do that?
Oh, I can look up for the name. I don't
Mm.
remember the name of the
Mm.
thing. It's many years ago now,
Yeah, yeah.
but I have the information somewhere.
Cool.
It's free. It's like
Yeah, yeah.
everything. They provide everything.
Mm.
You can pay like if you want
Donation or
something.
something.
Yeah,
Jeez.
but it's so nice. I mean, I felt very good.
Mm.
Although I had a bad time some
Mm.
days,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I felt good
Good when you
all
were
in
leaving.
all.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
the last day wasn't the day I felt the best.
um, what has been your most exciting travel tale?
What exciting travel tale! Like my definition of excitement is maybe different than that of most people, because I get excited for very little things sometimes, and I don't know. I There is a trip that I remember a lot, and again, nothing fantastic really happened there,
Mm.
because it was in an island in the middle of the ocean. Like
Yeah.
there was nothing really going on there. But I remember my trip to Shetland as one of a very, I don't know, it was very nice experience. Um, Again, I decided to take the journey as something like an adventure. So I went there on a ship. Like we sailed 14 hours, and then I arrived there, and it was raining, of course. And then I think it was raining all the time, but it was so nice. I was just walking for hours under the rain, and maybe
Mm.
there was the sun too, and there were, rainbows, and there. It was like I expected it to be cold, and it was actually warm. I mean, it wasn't hot, but the I expected something, and I got something totally different.
Mm.
So that
Yeah, yeah.
shocked me. And then I don't know, I was just the random things I found there. And I one thing I do is before I travel, I very rarely research. I don't want to know what I'm going to find. I just like to go to a place and discover it there. So I didn't know what to expect. I just picked Shetland as a random island,
Mm.
and I went there, and I found I hired a local guide, and he took me around, and there were ruins for, I think, 4 or 5 thousand year old ruins
Jeez.
there, and I was like, what? I mean,
Five
this is in the
thousand
middle
years.
of nowhere. How did they
Oh.
even get here? And then I've learned about the history of different times, and then there was you could see on one side of the island you have the Northern Sea, I think, or I don't know, and then the Atlantic, and then the waters behave so different, and you can look at them at the same time because the island is so small that you can see the two different waters, doing so differently from one side and the other, and they are never mixing. Things are just, they are so simple yet so like you cannot make a sense in your head of how things
Mm.
work. I like these kind of experiences when I travel, like to
Mm.
open my mind and look at things in different ways.
Yeah. I'm just checking
um
out the map of
yeah.
where it actually is, because I wasn't fully sure myself. But yeah,
Yeah,
it's pretty.
it's up north. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's in line with Oslo, actually.
Yeah.
It's
Over
quite
kind of.
far north.
Yeah. It's mad.
Yeah.
So, Barbara, I've seen that you're writing a book about money, which is maybe peculiar or intriguing to for somebody who is an artist. So, tell me more about this book about money.
uh, yeah, well, first, I'm an artist because this is my circumstance in this moment. I'm just having fun being an artist. I don't think I'm an artist like the broken artist. I don't like to be a broken artist. I don't think anyone should be a broken artist. Like they should have money to be able to do what they want. And when you just talk with artists, sometimes they even get offended about money, topics like money.
Mm.
And anyway, but the thing about my book with money is it's very personal, and it goes back to, I don't know, maybe I was 3 years old. And the reality is like, I've always been able to create the amount of money I needed for things like a trip or whatever I decide to want. Um, but the thing I have noticed, I had a pattern that I would never have more than the amount of money I required for a specific thing.
Mm.
And I started to get annoyed by that. Like, why, whenever I said, okay, maybe I need 10,000 euros for next month, and I don't have them, but if I need them, I will make them. But if I
Mm-hmm.
don't need them, I won't.
Mm.
And I was like, why? Why is it, and I started to notice a lot of patterns, like weird patterns. And I was like, no, I have to change it. I have to understand what is going on here. So I started to do some research about money and the psychology of money, and then what do we know about money and how to handle money, and a lot of things. And I got fascinated about that. And then I went back to my childhood, and I remembered a lot of things that, I really went deep into doing some kind of research for me. And then
Mm.
I started to interview people, and I was like, I really want to write about this, and I want to change these patterns for me, because it's unnecessary to be living this way. And I only live this way because I decide in a subconscious mind that I have to. And no, it's just beliefs. It's the money story that I'm telling, and I'm just
Mm.
living up to it. So I'm working to change it. So
Mm.
in order to change it, I have to learn how it's made and what are the components, and then understand so many things. So I took it very personal, and then I'm working towards it. And I said, I discovered so many amazing things that I couldn't find in just one book. I
Mm.
mean, I had to read many books. I had to make seminars. I had to really analyze myself. I had to speak with people. I had to make so many things because I
Mm.
couldn't find all the resources put together. So say, why don't you write that book with all the resources together? So that's why I want to write this book about money.
Okay, that's as good an answer as anything. Yeah. So, what would be your top tip for positive mental health?
I mean, you need to work in the mindset. Your mindset makes your mental health. If you're how you are thinking, so you shall be. So work in the mindset to and make sure that you always have a good mental health. Like, it's a priority. I mean, it's more a priority than your physical
Mm.
health, because if your mind is right, your body will be right, and if your mind is wrong, your body will be wrong, and so
Mm.
everything else. So just work in the mindset, and yeah, pay attention to your how you feel in your mind.
Okay. And is there anything specifically that you do or that you could recommend? Like,
Awareness, work in awareness is again, it's a life journey, because it's a skill you need to learn.
mm.
You need to understand to really read your thoughts, understand your thoughts in a
Mm.
different way. Your thoughts are telling you something which is it's not on the surface. You have to really understand and decode what you are thinking, because there are messages like, you can understand patterns when you have awareness of what you are doing. Like, you slow down and you pay attention to yourself. You go inwards, and then reflect to what results you are having, and then you make connections. But this is a skill you need to learn. It doesn't happen overnight that you say, oh, I'm going to pay attention, and then go for help if you need. Like, and there are many resources out there how to work on awakening the
Mm.
awareness. And that is important, because if you
Mm.
don't have awareness, you don't even know what is going wrong, so you cannot fix it.
Cool. Do you have any good motto or phrase that you live by? A good quote, maybe?
For me, it's like a motto is like, if it's not fun, it doesn't make sense doing it. So I mean, I just live by that. If I have
Mm.
to decide whether to do one thing or not. It's like, is it going to be fun?
Yeah.
And if I say no, I rather don't do it.
Cool. That's good. Is there any business leaders or like global leaders that you are inspired by?
Well, business, I really like Richard Branson.
Why is that?
Oh, but I don't know. Perhaps I like kind of the way he built up things. Perhaps because I relate, of course, in a very small scale. I behave in ways more like that. It's like adventure has to be there, fun has to be there, and then profit has to be there too. But not sacrificing having a good time while you are creating a business. You can do both. You can create a great business and you can enjoy the way. You don't, they don't isolate. You either have fun or you either work hard. You can work hard. You can really sacrifice things for things you believe in, and you can make of it a lifestyle. And I think he kind of does that, and I like it.
Very good. What's your favorite business book?
Oh, business book specifically. I would say for anyone in business, there is this book I really like because it kind of help people get responsibility over their lives and over their actions, and it's called the 7 Habits of Successful People,
highly effective people.
Like
Yeah,
that one.
Stephen Covey.
From Stephen Covey. That book is like, it's a wealth of resources for getting things straight, but mostly is like getting responsible over yourself. You learn to be responsible for your acts and your decisions. And well, that book is pretty well structured on that, because you can go into business without being responsible, of course, but then you will be blaming everybody. If you fail, it won't be your responsibility, and that's not good. So yeah. And then I like to read biographies of people, like just to remind myself like nothing important was made overnight. And so yeah, biographies like that. And one of the not recent ones, but one of those I read that I still sometimes go back to it is one of Walt Disney biography. He had quite a time building his empire. Actually, it's an empire after he passed, so it's amazing.
I must read that actually. Walt Disney. Make note.
And the guy, he built everything, but he wasn't going after having, we know Disney today, but he wasn't going after that. He was just chasing what he believed he wanted to do in different moments of his life. So that's interesting.
Interesting. Cool. Okay, we're just getting close to the end now. So yeah, what would be your biggest goal then for 2020?
This year I want to create real sources of passive income.
Okay.
So that would be my goal for this year.
Okay. And then your book, when do you hope to have the book published? Or
the book, I'm starting with an ebook, which is going to be like, I hope I have it soon. Hope maybe by February or March. Okay. And then I will work in an expanded version, and I will try to get it published like in paper. It's going to be maybe later in the year, or let's see how it goes. But the ebook is going to be hopefully latest by March.
Okay. Will that be available on Kindle?
Yeah.
Cool.
Planning to.
Very good. Best of luck. What would be your top tip for anybody starting a business?
Anybody starting a business, that would be again the mindset. The mindset. Okay. Having the right mindset.
Okay. Do you have any books recommendations for mindset?
Oh, there is a book called Mindset, actually, which is a kind of a good introductory book to understand what mindset even means. Like you have the growth mindset and the fixed mindset, and she explained very clearly with a lot of examples, but mostly it makes you understand, okay, wherever you are, you can change it. And yeah, then you have to do the work. Of course, the book is not going to solve and change your mindset on its own, but it will bring awareness again.
Yeah. Very good. That's brilliant, Barbara. So just before we wrap it up then, how can anybody follow you, reach out to you, get in touch, or buy the book down the line?
Well, there is my website, which is in work, under work now, but you can still go there. There are some blog posts, and it's livewithamag.com, and then Instagram, which is also livewithamag.
Okay, so that's livewithamug.com.
Yes.
And if people wanted to buy some of your little doggies,
oh, there you can find the little dogs in applerainart.com.
applerainart.com. Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. Thanks, Barbara, for coming on the Bootcast. Best of luck with everything, and hopefully we'll chat again or meet someday.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Cheers.
It was fun.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.